I honestly don't really have any notes to bring up other than the fact that Matic may or may not be joining us, and Milan will be joining us about 45 minutes from now, and he might actually be able to make the sessions consistently from here on out, assuming he doesn't get into another play, but we'll deal with that if it comes up. So we've actually handled all the housekeeping things prior to the session. So we can actually jump into the captain's log if you're ready for it.
Yeah, let's give it a shot. Captain's log, stardate 48626.2. In the week and a half since first contact with the Opterans and Kavians, tensions have decreased dramatically. A treaty has yet to be signed, but we're fairly certain the two species will be able to coexist peacefully. We've remained in the area of Iota Mu 4 and acted as mediator for the finer points of this agreement. During this, the Chromium 50 discovery by Matic has taken a back burner for the Federation's priorities. An ambassadorial team has made little headway convincing the Enthusians not to use their sentient computing systems as beasts of burden. It's possible that because of this external pressure, the Enthusians are being close-minded and not sharing their bioengineering technology. The Federation contingent of ambassadors will remain on Hayeko for the foreseeable future, but the Federation and Starfleet have more or less come to the conclusion that the best outcome involving the Enthusians is having them as a trading partner rather than outright Federation membership. Additionally, rumors of the joint Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order fleet being destroyed by the Dominion have reached even the Arcadia in the Beta Quadrant. At the moment, we are awaiting the arrival of Admiral Haru. She will be arriving in system within the next several hours on a ship carrying enough supplies to construct a Starfleet outpost on Iota Mu 4. The purpose of this outpost would be threefold: keeping the peace, studying the Tetryon and Cyanogen phenomenon within the planet's core, and acting as a midway for any future pushes into the expanse.
Okay. So, all is as the captain has described. You guys are currently all doing your own thing, waiting for the Admiral to arrive. And we're going to open up, in particular, with Captain Tahan. You are in your ready room, and you're going over some last-minute reports in preparation for Admiral Haru's arrival. Everything's, nice and quiet. And then your favorite buddy, pal Q, shows up. So, you're sitting at your desk and you're kind of looking at some pads. And you kind of look up again and you see Q just kind of sitting on your couch.
Q, I don't remember inviting you, but, please. How may I do you the honor?
Oh, well, you're in such a better mood today than before. Maybe I should have showed up later.
Well, Q, as long as you're not getting in my way, I actually have time for you.
Must be a humanoid thing. Anyways, I simply wanted to... I believe the expression is clear the air. I wanted to applaud you for finding a solution to that nasty little problem on the planet that didn't resort to any barbarous methodologies that you humanoids are so predisposed towards.
I wouldn't think anything of it, Q.
Oh, I could make a comment, but for the sake of your sanity, I won't. But I should say, and for this he kind of crosses a leg, and his face gets a little bit more serious than his usual Q visage usually is. And he says, I think I've told you before that something is coming, something that your little federation isn't necessarily prepared for. Perhaps you might consider upgrading your little tugboat here for something that packs a much bigger punch.
Are you planning to introduce us to another threat like you did with the Borg?
Oh no, this is not going to be anything of my doing. This is entirely of your own machinations.
I see. Well, I'm sure you already know what I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyways. Our job is to explore, and that's what we're going to do.
Oh, and of course, you'll go off and you'll scan every little anomaly that you see between here and whatever point you head towards. But just know that even though you are across the quadrant, there are things in motion that may shake the Federation to its core.
And I'm sure we'll come out the better.
Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe that's just the fun of your linear existence.
I suppose I'm supposed to thank you, Q, for showing such an interest in our well-being.
Oh, well, I would certainly accept such a thanks. I am taking a good portion of my free time coming to deliver such messages to you.
And your time is very limited, I imagine.
Oh, no, it's infinite, but still, time is very valuable.
Well, of course, and I'll pick up my pad again, as is mine, Q.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're ignoring me now. Very well. I've said what I needed to say, and I think at this point the fun will be in watching what happens. And he snaps his fingers and Q goes away.
Is this my office? Because I don't remember having a ready room before.
So, I was going to mention this in my pre-game notes, but I forgot to. So, part of the whole Q fixing the bridge thing is we rearranged deck 1 a little bit to accommodate a ready room and basically move the 2 offices up from deck 2 up to deck 1. And we put the sensor array that was in the front of the ship down a deck. So whenever we go back, if we ever go back to the big old blueprint kind of a things, you'll just have to imagine, the changes that are there.
Okay.
But yeah, part of that reason was it felt a little awkward to have you as the captain have to go all the way down to deck 2 for your ready room, since I believe literally every other ship that we've ever seen has the ready room on the same deck. So,
well, that's how it is on a tugboat.
Well, I'd like to think the Arcadia is a little bit better than a tugboat.
Hey, Q said it, not me.
All right, so to kind of speed things along here, it's probably about this point that the bridge officers on duty, so Richaud and Crowley, I imagine that's you two that are currently on the bridge. Richaud, you're picking up that a Sydney-class transport is about to drop out of warp on the edge of the system.
Commander, we've got a Sydney-class transport coming out of warp.
Open hailing frequencies.
Okay. So, you open hailing frequencies, and as the view screen activates, you see 2 individuals. The first is unmistakably Admiral Haru. She's adorned in the typical Admiralty garb and is standing directly behind a man who you assume must be the captain of the transport. He's built like a weightlifter. And as soon as he speaks, you're able to place his origins as being somewhere from Europe on Earth. And he says, "Ah, my friend, you must be the good Commander Crowley. I am Captain Zund. I am thinking that you need no introduction to the Admiral here. We'll be in transport range in 20 minutes. Once in range, we'll be transporting the good Admiral aboard the Arcadia, and then we ourselves will be heading down to the surface to begin construction. I trust this is agreeable, yes?"
As far as our orders have been, yes, that's good. I'll inform the captain.
Very good, very good. And I must say, we are looking very much forward to constructing this outpost. It is not often that we get to do such things this far out into space.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing it being built.
Captain Zund out, and the view screen goes dark. So you guys have, as he said, you guys have 20 minutes for your characters to do whatever, literal last-minute things you want to do before the Admiral arrives. I'll start just kind of at the bottom here. And the bottom happens to be Crowley at the moment. So Crowley, what are you going to be doing during this 20 minutes?
Well, after the communications close, I will let the captain know immediately that they will be within transport range within 20 minutes. I'm going to just try to remember Starfleet protocol. Do I need dress uniform for this?
You do not.
Excellent. I will go to my pad and finish off looking at the crew evaluations for those members that needed recognition for their service. And then I'm going to, probably like with the last 15 minutes, I'm going to head down and find Andromeda.
Okay. So you'll find Andromeda is actually currently within one of the science labs. But if I had to specifically define the science lab in question, I would say that it is probably more like planetary geology, or maybe that's just exogeology. Anyways, she's in this laboratory by herself, it seems, and you see that there's kind of a display of Iota Mu4 being displayed in kind of a holoprojector type deal, similar in nature to stellar cartography or astrometrics. And as you step inside and, kind of maybe clear your throat to get your attention, Andromeda just kind of turns and says, "Oh, hello, Commander. To what do I owe the pleasure?"
I want to see how you're doing, and also to let you know that we're having one of our superiors show up. Admiral Haru is about 10-15 minutes away from being aboard the ship.
Oh, I see. Do I need to do anything in particular to prepare for this?
Just be yourself. She may want to talk to you, as you are kind of an anomaly, even within our own galaxy.
I would think that would be... I think the expression is logical.
Yeah. So she'll probably want to talk with you. And if you're feeling up to it, feel free to answer her questions.
I don't really have any issue answering questions at this point, but sure, I'll keep that in mind.
I just want anyone surprising you. Well, what are you doing here?
Oh, I was indulging a little bit of idle curiosity on my part. I was, based on the data that I was able to obtain about your species and the kind of crops that you tend to use in farming, I was just comparing it to the scans of the planet to see if you could use this land for farming.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. Anything come from your scans?
Well, good news, bad news. Good news is you should be able to grow some of your staple crops. The bad news is the radiation from the planet's core and the solanogen crystals will make it so that the crops, well, some of the more sensitive crops, might begin to display some irregularities.
Pass on your findings to the rest of the science team and have them investigate further.
Of course, I will do just that.
Thank you.
All right. So, anything else before I go to Rochelle?
Nope, that's everything.
Cool. Rochelle, what are you up to for this 20 minutes?
I can't imagine Rochelle would be doing anything other than just, staying at the station and continuing to monitor the local theater.
Okay. So Rochelle, since you're probably the ranking officer on the... Well, Sergeant Ujace is there. He's the ranking Starfleet member, we'll say, on the bridge.
Pretty sure Monday's been a member of Starfleet longer than Rochelle as well.
Oh, dear. Any case, you're on the bridge, is what matters.
Yes.
You are able to detect kind of a opposite vector from the way the CS Antioch, the Sydney class transport. There is a Kavian vessel that is dropping out of warp and also heading towards the planet.
I will hail both the captain and the commander. Sir, we have a Kavian vessel heading towards the planet as well? Just thought I'd give you a heads up.
Okay.
Are we, Commander? Are we expecting them?
Are we expecting them?
I would say that you would be aware that the Kavians were bringing in a sort of a dignitary, if not an outright ambassador, and this would fit the timeline. Also, the shipper show that you're detecting is much smaller than the gigantic transport slash carrier that has been in orbit of the planet for about the same amount of time you guys have been here.
All right.
Yeah, Captain, it's expected.
All right, I'm on my way.
Okay. So in that case, we'll say, Tahan, you kind of step onto the bridge at this point, and
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I scan the Kavian vessel?
Sure. Go ahead and roll me a Insight plus Science, and the ship will assist with Sensors plus Science, and I'm going to make this only a difficulty 2. All right, so there's 1 success.
Oh, the ships are The sheets are working in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, you got the 2 successes you needed.
Nice.
So, what you determine about this, about the size of a maybe about half the size of a Defiant class vessel, you're able to determine that, as seems to be the par for the course for Kavian vessels, it is all Tetrion based. It does not have any transporter capabilities. It only has a very small shuttlecraft, and it has about, we'll say, 15 life signs aboard.
Am I able to pick up anything about their armament, if they have any?
This particular vessel has what appears to be very limited disruptor banks.
All right.
Basically, not a threat, just kind of getting someone from point A to point B.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So, of course, Captain, I would assume at this point you've walked onto the bridge.
Right, and Crowley had left to go visit Andromeda, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, he just vanished.
Yeah.
Ensign Risho, you have the con. I'm going to meet the Admiral.
Aye, sir.
All right. So, Tahan, you head down to Transporter Room 1 to greet the Admiral. I kind of regret not putting a map for this, so we'll just have to use theater of mind. So it doesn't take all that long after your arrival for the transporter chief on duty to say, the Admiral is ready, sir, at your convenience.
Energize.
And there's the shimmer of blue light as the transporter chief raises his hand on the console, and materializing before you on the pad is the Kaitian Admiral, which you are more or less familiar with, if only because you have to report to her every day.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes a look around and immediately steps forward and goes to shake Tahan's hand.
I'll meet it gladly.
Okay. And she says, Captain, it is good to see you. I will be blunt and say that we have some immediate matters that we need to discuss in private.
I quite agree, but I'm happy to see you this far out into the expanse. This way. I'll lead you to my office.
All right.
Or to my ready room now.
Yeah. So we'll put you back on this screen. So small note.
No.
Small note. Yeah. I basically opened it up and I said, look, I need a Kaitian token. Anyone who can make me one, I'd be appreciative. And the Ophion group yesterday made this, and I was like, you know what? They spent the time in Photoshop. We'll use it.
Always not ready for that.
Yeah.
Actually terrifying.
Yeah. The alternative was a, bad token of MRes. So, At least she's in uniform. That's what matters. She's even got the little admiral pips if you zoom in far enough.
Okay, I'm collected myself again.
All right.
I'm good.
Computer, replicate catnip.
No. I feel like that's probably nope. All right, let's keep playing Star Trek.
Anyways, so yeah, you step into your ready room, and I assume you take your seat, and Admiral Haru will sit opposite you. And
I assume there's chairs.
oh yeah, there's chairs.
Yeah.
And she just kind of leans in over the desk and says, "The first matter I think I should attend to is, I believe you have been made aware of the destruction of the Romulan and Cardassian fleet by the Dominion."
I am. I'd also like to inform you of some of my experiences with Q. I don't know if they're relevant to that or not.
Well, at this point, it's hard to say what could or could not be relevant, so please, enlighten me.
This actually happened today. He seemed to want to wrap up some unfinished business. And I'll go ahead and hand her a pad that contains all of the information that was too sensitive to send over subspace.
Okay.
And he insinuated that the Federation would be going through something significant soon, and that it would be our own doing. It's impossible to say if Q is just trying to wind us up, or if he actually is giving us a warning.
She kind of looks over the pad for a moment, and then kind of lowers her hand so that she's still holding it, but she's not actively looking at it, and she says, "Well, again, I will be blunt here and say that Starfleet intelligence believes that there is potential for conflict with the Dominion at this point. The Romulan and Cardassian incursion into their space could very well be the catalyst that causes the Dominion to come through the wormhole and begin, God knows what with the Alpha Quadrant."
I can't help but wonder, being one of the few ships on this side of Romulan space, if that's going to alter our mission in the Shackleton Expanse or not.
Well, the good news about that, Captain, is I more or less have complete discretion in deploying the Arcadia. And for the moment, I don't really see a need to send the Arcadia all the way across space to deal with a potential threat. And again, to be honest, the Arcadia wouldn't be able to put up much of a fight compared to the Dominion vessels we've seen so far.
Yes, from what I've understand from the tactical reports, they are... Well, I can only think of what happened to... Has the Odyssey been destroyed already?
Yes, it has.
Okay. No, I wouldn't imagine it would. We've done as much as we can to improve security on the ship, but we can only do so much with so little time.
Agreed. But there is a little bit of good news here. I don't think you have to worry about any changelings among your crew.
I should hope not. We are fairly isolated from the rest of the Federation, but...
And she just sort of smiles and say, "Well, on to perhaps a less sensitive and worrisome topic. Tell me, Captain, the Enthusians. I know in your reports you were a very big proponent of weaning them off their technology, but I'm more curious, and this can be off the record if you so wish it. What is your opinion on even keeping the Enthusians as trading partners?"
I don't remember offering to wean them off. I thought that was the Kavians. But
let me double check.
I might have said something about the Enthusians.
Let me double check.
Okay.
My notes say that it was either you or Nalan, and I didn't note down for whatever reason who specifically said this. But someone was a big proponent of getting them to either recognize that they were basically using slave labor, or trying to get them to move to a less slave labor maintained society.
Yeah. So okay, no, I definitely would have been doing that, or at the very least to find a way to communicate with this life form and work out a consensual agreement.
Right.
Um, but if they are unwilling to do that, we should consider not. I think we have to consider who we are as a people if we want to trade with folks like that. But if I can be completely honest, Admiral, my biggest regret so far as captain is not championing for the life of those sentient life forms more than I did. If I could go back now, I would focus my first contact with them. I feel that was a missed opportunity on my part.
Perhaps. But I would say you've had plenty of good first contacts, to make up for it. You and I will discuss the whole Kavian and Opteran situation along with the rest of your senior staff later. But the last sensitive matter that I wish to discuss with you in private is the alien from the Andromeda Galaxy. Obviously, I've read the reports you sent in thus far, along with those of the crew, but I would like to get your honest opinion. Again, this can be off the record if you so wish. If you believe that this alien, or rather I should say Andromeda, as seems to be her chosen name, do you believe her to be a safe entity to have on your ship, and whether or not we should maybe try and get her to go back to the Daystrom Institute?
I would be foolish if I said that she weren't dangerous. Clearly, with her capabilities, that is a patent fact. However, everything she's done has shown her to have good judgment and sound conscience. She's acted heroically in the line of duty when not asked to do so. But I would also feel uncomfortable forcing her to go to the Daystrom Institute if that's something she was not willing to do on her own. I feel there's much we can learn from her, and yes, I assume that could be done from the Daystrom Institute. I don't think.
Well, the good news is, Captain, is she's not a member of Starfleet, so we cannot order her to report. This would very much be maybe perhaps a heavy-handed suggestion that she might find better surroundings at the Daystrom Institute. However, before you begin to worry too much, I have not made that decision by myself as of yet. I wish to take perhaps a day or two to once again review the facts and come up with a solution that would be amicable to all parties involved.
Understood. I do think there is something to be said for allowing her to learn about us through firsthand experience and vice versa. Watching her perform in the line of duty is a unique experience that I don't think we should underestimate or undervalue.
Of course. And then the Admiral makes to stand, and, maybe as you follow her up, she says, "So, last very minor thing. How's my nephew doing? I believe you know him as Ensign Rouge."
Yes, he's a fine officer. I know you've read the reports from Psi Omega. Was it 2, 3, 4?
2.
2. And so the counselor has been working with the away teams from that mission, but because of doctor-patient confidentiality, I couldn't speak to how he's recovering, but as far as I'm aware, he's been cleared for duty, and he's got a fine future ahead of him, Admiral.
Oh, that's good to hear. When he joined Starfleet, he made it very clear that he didn't want any handouts, so I've acted in a very hands-off manner towards him.
I think if my family were so directly above me in the chain of command, I would appreciate a little distance as well.
Yeah. It's understandable. It's also a part of our nature as Caitians. We tend to look after our own. But we follow his wishes either way. And she starts to make for the door, and she says, last thing, Captain. If you could let your commander know that I will be taking over his office for the next several days, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'll inform him of that.
All right. And she says, good talking with you, Captain. I will let you know when I am in need of you in the future. And she more or less walks out at that point. So, up on the bridge, Rochelle, you're picking up another formation of an eddy. And there's something strange in particular about the formation of this particular eddy. And if you're interested in perhaps learning some more, I would say this would be an insight plus science.
Why is it insight as opposed to reason?
It could be either, really.
Okay.
So if you want to do reason instead, that'll be fine.
I'm not really concerned about the Eddie's emotional state, so.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe the Eddies are a sentient entity.
That's fair.
So reason plus science, assisted by the Arcadia sensors plus science, and we'll make this a difficulty 3.
Okay.
Brought down to 2 because of the sensors.
Again, yeah, brought down to 2 because of sensors.
Cool.
Oh, okay, so we already have, how many successes is that?
That's 3.
Yeah, 4.
Oh, I like the new output.
Yeah, you guys get 2 momentum. Very good.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
Is it?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I think it's like showing all of the map on how it generates random numbers.
It's kind of hard to parse looking at the
all right.
the information it presents.
Well,
so she rolled a 7, and okay.
Yeah, you rolled a 2 and a 15.
And a 15. Yeah.
Personally, I like it because it actually shows the 2 successes as a different window, and it makes it a little bit easier to tally up.
Oh no, that part's much better.
Oh yeah. Anyways, so
how much momentum do we have now?
2.
2.
Okay.
So Rochelle.
Plus 1 extra for purposes of asking questions.
Yep. So Rochelle, as you kind of observe this eddy forming, you realize that right as the phenomenon begins to happen, there's a buildup of muons in the vicinity of the eddy. And the more you look into it and comparing it to your past sensor logs, you begin to realize that all of the eddies you've scanned thus far display this very same pattern where they have a buildup of muons in local space, and then moments later, in a relative time sense, an eddy begins to form.
Okay. So is that something I could potentially use as like an early warning system if I was to program the sensors to look for that buildup of muons?
You could. The other thing I'll give you for free before you have to ask questions is that muons inherently are a little bit dangerous to the warp core. If they get any buildup in the warp core and you guys go to warp, there is a potential for a warp core breach.
Okay.
So as long as an eddy doesn't form inside the ship kind of a thing, you guys are fine.
All right. Okay, cool. And just for my question, then I'm kind of the range, like the pattern that I've been noticing, which would kind of indicate that the eddies are artificially created, and I believe Q kind of did claim responsibility for them. Does that hold true for this one? Like, does it fall within that range, or is it a bit more unique?
I would say it definitely falls within that range, but looking at the data, and I'll again give this to you for free rather than having you do a difficulty 4 task. You, with careful inspection of the data, you are able to discern that the eddies that form at a much rapid pace compared to the others are probably Q's doing, whereas the ones that form in a more natural, like stellar, slow kind of way are probably the quote-unquote natural ones.
Okay.
So if I had to put a number on each, you've maybe seen about 5 of the normal ones and about 15 of the artificially created ones. And this would be the latter.
May I offer I don't know if there's any way to do this, but a suggestion for a question to ask?
I don't have a problem with you telling him.
So we know that Q made some of the artificial eddies in front of us, but is there a way to differentiate between an eddy caused by Q versus any other one?
That would have to be a difficulty 4 task.
Whoa.
Okay. Sure. Do I want to try that out now? And would the Arcadia be able to help me with that task? Or?
Yes, but it will be a little bit different. So this time it would be another reason or insight plus science. The ship would assist this time with computers plus science. So you don't get the reduction from sensors. So it is still 4. And as I said, the difficulty overall would be 4.
Right. Okay. How do we feel about spending the gain momentum and perhaps some threat?
I'm fine with that. No, this wouldn't be under astrophysics. Also, I'm not on the bridge.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to assume my stellar phenomena
Focus applies, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make the check and spend 1 point of threat to gain 1 extra die, 2 points of momentum for the second die.
Okay.
And, yeah.
See what happens. Survey says... Alright, you've got 3 successes so far. And the one you need from the ship. Very good.
Air horns.
Alright, so yeah, you are actually able to determine to the best of yours and the extent of the Starfleet Technologies way of thinking that perhaps out of the 15 artificial that you were able to scan, only 5 of them were from Q, actually. The remaining 10 were generated by some other entity or bit of technology.
Okay. Interesting. And, yes, am I able to, kind of fiddle with the deflector dish to ensure that the muons are not going to be forming within the ship now that I know to look for them?
Oh yeah, I would say that you'd be able to either erect force fields around the warp core to prevent that sort of thing, or you might decide to, in addition to the whole deflector thing, you might decide to maybe push along the covering of the hull with chromium 50 kind of a thing.
Right. Okay. And I will communicate my findings down to Matic with at least regards to that. So.
Okay. And Matic will probably say something along the lines of, all right, we'll try to get some more chromium 50 then. But yeah.
All right, sounds good.
So it's about this time that Crowley, you've gotten a message from the captain that your office has been taken over. And really, before you can even react or even start to head in that direction, you get a directed comm from the Admiral herself. And she says, Commander Crowley, if you have the moment, I'd like you to join me in my office.
All right, top of combat, like, right away, Admiral.
All right. So you step into your own office here as I shuffle around the tokens. And
Hey, that's me.
Yeah,
My office.
I gotta.
Not for long, former captain. Ho, ho, ho.
All right. So Admiral Haru is seated behind the desk, and she kind of motions for Crowley for you to take a seat. And she kind of looks at her pad for a moment before speaking, and then looks up in a very nonchalant way and says, "Tell me, Commander, what is your assessment of the captain thus far?"
I believe the captain is doing well. Everything that I've seen him do so far has fallen within Starfleet guidelines for the most part. But we're out in the unknown, so the rule book is kind of hard to follow when you're meeting strange new races.
Understandable, understandable. I am curious, though, particularly in the matters of the Enthusians. Excuse me. Would you believe that there is the potential for the captain to go on a mission of mercy, perhaps?
In what manner?
Well, again, this is just idle speculation, but the reports I've received from the captain and several of the crew might suggest there to be a, shall we say, lingering regret that nothing was really able to be accomplished in terms of preventing the slave labor.
As awful as that case may be, this is a culture that have set up their own society with their own rules. We have to understand that and, in some ways, respect it. We cannot force our will upon them. If they are built into such a way, and if they're blind to not knowing that their creations are sentient, then we can perhaps help them see. But if they refuse it, we can't do anything else. That's not our job in Starfleet.
I see. So you are a proponent of the Prime Directive, then?
I believe the Prime Directive is useful in many circumstances.
I see. And this is not a reprimand by any means, but I am curious if you considered the Prime Directive before interfering between the Kavians and the Opterans.
That was actually something that crossed my mind, but due to the technology that was placed on the planet that was not built by them, had already showed interference was done.
I see. So you believe that it was okay because this wasn't a developing society.
I felt it was okay because an outside force was exerting their will on another that did not ask for it.
I see. I see. Again, this is not as a criticism. I just wish to understand the mindset of those aboard the Arcadia. Very well. That's honestly all the questions I had for you. Unless you have anything for me, you are dismissed.
Thank you, Admiral, and I would say thank you for assigning me to the Arcadia. I'm glad to be out of the hospital.
Of course. It wouldn't do to have some of Starfleet's best and brightest cooped up in a hospital ward.
I just smile at her and I walk out.
Okay. So there's another potential here for a time skip. If you guys have anything you'd like to do during this next couple of days, just let me know. I think we'll start from the top this time. So, Tahan, In the next 2 to 3 days, is there anything in particular you wish to accomplish?
Actually, yeah. And I'd possibly get Matic and Richaud to help me with this.
Okay.
Or just, I mean, the whole senior staff, really. But I want to start working with the Kavians on like a share of some scientific data. Maybe talk about how they deal with the eddies, if there's anything that they do, and compare notes. Like now that we know that some of the eddies are artificial by Q, some otherwise, and kind of just try to learn some stuff from the Kavians if we can.
Okay. I would say that the Kavians, the only way to really get information out of them at this point would be to join the diplomatic talks on the planet. But the good news on that is that when you go to inquire about such things, the Admiral will give you the permission to attend such talks and extend the invitation to anyone on the senior staff. So it doesn't just have to be the captain that goes down.
Well, I'll definitely ask Crowley and Richaud to come with me, because they are the player characters today.
Okay.
But also because I want them there. They're excellent officers.
Let me grab everyone's token.
And I guess this will be dress uniform.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing my dress uniform at the moment. The invitation's been extended.
All right, copy and then put you here. All right, so I was close. I was guessing Nilan was going to be here by this point, but I think he's probably just now driving back from work.
Let's say he's also there as
Okay.
an NPC until he gets here.
All right, we can do that. All right, so you get into your dress uniforms and you beam down to the planet to attend discussions. And as the blue shimmer kind of fades from your vision, you see that even though it's only been probably maybe half a day since the speak of the devil, here he is. Since it's only been a half of a day since the transport arrived, it's the outpost on the planet is probably in a bare bones state at this point. And you beam into this wide open space that is actually already furnished. You note that the hallways and rooms are large enough to accommodate an Opteran. The lighting is subtle and not intrusive. And as I said, it's already got some furnishings that would be befit an ambassadorial office. You get the sense, just looking around, that top priority was placed on getting the kind of mediator / ambassadorial facilities of the outpost up and running as soon as possible. But you actually don't see anyone nearby for the moment. I mean, obviously you hear the sounds of construction further into the outpost, but you don't really see anyone.
Are there the computer consoles on the walls?
There are.
If I go to one of those, then can I discern the location of any Kavian delegates on the outpost?
Sure. Hey, Nalan, you're here now. Hi, how you doing?
Yep. Doing all right.
So you haven't missed a whole lot. The important thing is you are currently in dress uniform on the Iota Mu planet outpost, and you have been brought along maybe to provide some Betazoid insight to the delegation of Kavians and the Opterans, if you are able to find them.
Okay.
So, Captain, to answer your question, you go to a wall console and activate the computer there, and right as you do, an Opteran actually rounds the corner and begins to head in your direction. And thanks to the comm badge that is literally still stuck on his nose,
No,
you can pretty much guess that this is Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
So via the translation matrix within said comm badge, he says, "Hello, I believe I'm a little bit lost. Could you help me find the meeting room?"
We are looking for that right now as well. I believe my crewmen have been referring to you as Jeffrey. Is that correct?
That appears to be the name that has been given to me, yes.
Are you okay with that name? Is that...
I mean, considering my own name would probably not translate even with this wondrous technology on my face. It suffices.
Very well. I will turn back to the console and finish getting the location and lead Jeffrey to the meeting room.
Okay. So, good news is it's really easy to figure out where you're supposed to go. It's probably, one turn to the right, go down about 50 feet, make a left, and it's like the third door on your right. Very easy directions.
Are the consoles at a height that the Opterans can use?
There are two sets of consoles. So there's one that is at their height and one that is at your height.
Okay.
Basically, it's designed with the Opterans in mind, simply because they might be coming and going from this planet as they so wish.
Awesome.
You lead Jeffrey to the meeting room, and when you step inside, you see this map, kinda, and to describe what you're seeing. So the actual meeting room is, again, already furnished and occupied by two Kavians. One of the individuals that you recognize is Captain Kaladak, and with her is a wizened-looking man, both of them in military-grade armor. As you come in, the gentleman kind of stands and says, "Ah, there you are. I am Domizaz, and I am here to negotiate on behalf of the Kavians." And Jeffrey kind of bows his head a little bit, as much as he can, and says, "My name is Jeffrey. I am here to represent my species, the Opterans." And the two of them don't really shake hands, but they do take equal positions across the table from one another, with the rest of you filling out the space, kind of a thing.
Who's leading the mediation? Is it us?
It is you, yes.
Okay, cool. Well, now that we are all here, I'd like to hear from each of you what you were looking for out of this partnership. We've decided at a previous time that the person to go first will be whoever that is.
Okay, we'll say the Opterans will go first. So Jeffrey kind of chitters a little bit and says, "I think perhaps the most important wish that we want to gain from this treaty is we'd like the return of those of us that have been taken back to Kavia. It is understandable that your technology requires their power, but at the same time, you are treating them as slaves." And the gentleman known as Domizaz doesn't really pound his fist on the table, but he does kind of take a kind of guarded stance. And he says, "Well, in order to do that, we'd have to shut down several key installations that are vital to the function of the planet." And all of them kind of look to you all as the away team for guidance here.
If I might offer a suggestion, then we can work on it from here. Is there a timetable that we could do this over a period of time so that you would not be taking down everything at once? Unfortunately, that would mean that some captured Kavian Opterans would be returned later than others.
Our current timetable would be perhaps a year before we would have sufficient power to take down these facilities. And almost immediately, Jeffrey kind of scoffs and says, "A year? You wish to have my people enslaved for an entire year? That is unacceptable." And Damizaz just kind of shrugs and says, "I see no other solution unless the Federation wishes to literally shower us with technology."
I cannot promise showers, but however, we can provide assistance in alternatives, many of which we have found to be efficient and effective.
So, Nalan and Crowley, since you are my Betazoids, you are going to pick up that at the mention of sharing technology, there's almost like a Ferengi-style hint of greed in Damizaz's attitude. It's not major, but it is at least enough of an emotion or a thought for the both of you to pick it up.
Gotcha. Oh, jeez.
So Neelan, you are more telepath, and I'm empath, so I get more of the feeling, you get the actual thought?
I think that's how that works, yeah.
Alright. I'll look at the captain, and I was like, if we can get permission, we could sort out an adapter so we can give them some batteries. High-yield ones, so they could use them and replace the Opterans that were being removed. And then they can sustain these until they get the energized crystals, I believe is what we talked about. Correct, Jeffrey?
That is correct.
So it may take a little time, not hopefully a year, but we would have to get an adaptation system set up. But it will take some time. I want you to be aware of that.
So, again, because you are my Betazoids, you're going to get the sense that Jeffrey really wants to argue this point. And obviously because that means his people are still kind of in slave labor. But he does recognize the fact that changes can't be done overnight. He's not unreasonable.
One thing we could look at doing is slowly reducing the power draw as we introduce the new cells. That way there shouldn't be any blackout periods. Yeah. Is this something agreeable for you? And I'm looking to the Kavan diplomats.
Okay. Damizaz kind of shrugs and says, "Honestly, that would work for us. How about you?" And he looks to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey says, "I believe given the circumstances, this will likely be the best outcome for both of us. I am not 100% happy with it, but it is at least a working solution to this problem."
And for our side, I would like to ensure that this is being done correctly. I would like if the Kavans could accept some of our medical teams to go to your homeworld to ensure that they are fine and that they're communicated with, that they will be set free and returned.
That, of course, can happen, but... And Damizaz kind of leans over the table and puts a fist in a palm and rests his chin on that and says, "I would like, on behalf of my people, something more than a word-of-mouth guarantee that the Opterans will return every 74 years at the very least to re-energize the crystals. As has been said many times, we as a culture rely on those Tetrions to function, and any disruption in supply could be disastrous." And Jeffrey just kind of tilts his head questioningly to the side, and you would even pick that up as Betazoids. Like, he's like, "Why would we do that?" kind of a thing. And Jeffrey says, "Well, I'm not really sure what to say or tell you or do. We certainly have no issue coming back here every so often and doing that. I am at a loss, though, as to how to prove that we will, other than to, show up 74 years from now."
Jeffrey, does your people use this planet to metamorph into the larger forms? Is that why you come through the portal?
No, actually. We are initially, as you know, from a different plane of existence than your own. I believe you would call it subspace. And we initially sought shelter here on this planet when our region of space became very turbulent and violent and stormy. The storm has since passed, but with the release of the planet's core, we are now able again to transverse freely between the realms.
And for your technology to work, you need the Tetrion-based crystals. What if, again, we show you alternative energy sources?
And again, there's that sense of greed that you pick up. It's probably a little bit more noticeable this time. And Damizez says, I mean, if you are willing and able to give us alternatives that would work, that would again be acceptable.
Is his greed noticeable to me?
I would say this would be a insight plus. What would this be? Maybe either command or con.
Well, I can tell you which is better.
Yeah, probably command.
If I may, I would like to try to ascertain that. What would the difficulty be?
The difficulty here would be a 2.
Yeah, I'm going to give that a shot. Although I don't think my cultural studies or diplomacy focus would come into play.
I'll let you have diplomacy.
Yeah, because I guess that is what we're doing. And I'm not going to add any dice.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have any momentum either way, so, you know.
Well, you don't have to rub it in.
All right, what did you get? That's a big negative, Ghost Rider.
No, yeah, it's not great. And I don't think I have a focus I'm willing to use on or a value. All right. Well, I mean, this doesn't really change what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I will make it known to the Kavian ambassador that our alternatives have, one, the benefit of not needing to rely on the Kavians in 74 years, and secondly, it would allow you access to other technologies you currently cannot use with the Tetrions, namely transporter technology, safely.
And what would be the timetable of deployment? I obviously am not 100% familiar with your culture's ways, but is there anything that would prevent you from sending such a large treasure trove of technology back to Kavia at this very moment?
Well, your people are quite far from our own, but I can work with our Corps of Engineers, and we might be able to instruct you how to build them yourself.
I see.
This way it teaches you your culture how to build it yourself and maintain it yourself without needing to rely on another culture. This gives you the independence.
And I think this time you would sense the moment you say independence, there's almost like a surge of pride and longing for such a thing. Like they place great value on that sort of thing.
I'll give him a smile. It's like, you would have new technology that you could work towards and explore like how we explore. You could join and be not dependent on someone, but as peers and equals.
Nalan, since you are my telepath,
Yeah.
you're going to get a very specific thought here. And that thought is, perhaps this means we can expand our borders.
Ooh. Would that mean like the borders of basically where their empire is, or that's the correct wording, or?
Yeah, that would be more or less what you're able to pick up, yes.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. I'm just going to keep silent on that for now.
Okay. So yeah, as you know, there's a little bit of back and forth again, and Jeffrey brings up as a next point. I do not know what the Kavian way is, but I would appreciate if the Kavians issued a public apology among their people and whatever allies they might have in regards to the exploitations of the Opterans. And almost immediately there's a small surge of anger from Damizaz that the Betazoids will pick up. And even to the non-Betazoids in the room, you would see that Damizaz's face kind of tightens a little bit. And Dami replies, "You wish an apology. I'm sure we could work something out, but you must understand that pride is a very big value among our people. To do such a thing would cause us to lose great face among our allies."
Perhaps that is the case, but I would suggest you view this apology as an opportunity to take pride in doing the right thing, and that your allies will see that and respect it.
Tell me, is your culture, Starfleet, would it issue this apology?
Yes, it would.
I see. Well,
But, I mean, I can't assume that every culture is the same as ours. In fact, I don't. All I can do is offer you alternative thought.
well, the alternative thought, as you've just put it, is why we are having this meeting to begin with. But perhaps on that same matter, I am curious. Who was the individual in the suit that was able to disable 20 Kavians on their own? Are they one of yours, Starfleet?
She is not.
I see. Do you have any information on who this individual might be so that we may pursue a form of justice?
And what form of justice would that be?
He turns to Crowley and he says, "Well, though the reports I received indicate that the Kavians in question are okay now, we simply do not want this individual, whoever they might be, running around the planet meting out their own justice."
To answer your first question, and I just look to the captain just to try and get an emotional ping.
I'm wary. And I'm actually gonna hold up a hand to stop you for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'll turn to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, if you don't mind, I believe this next discussion doesn't involve the Opterans. Do you mind if we have some privacy?
Oh, sure. Really, if it's all right before I go, those of us that remain on this planet are simply curious what to call this place. I believe the translation in your speech would be Zoatis Prime, and I will again put that in chat for spelling purposes. But now that this planet is under Federation control, I am simply curious as to what we should be calling it.
I think that's an excellent name.
Excellent. Well, if you require my insight, I will, I guess, be waiting outside.
I look forward to it.
Jeffrey just kind of slightly awkwardly shuffles out of the room, And within a few moments, you are left alone with Damizaz and Captain Kaladak.
Sorry, Counselor. Or was that Crowley? Where I stopped.
It was Crowley.
Okay. I didn't want this discussion to reflect the agreement between the Opterans and the Kavians. I think you have enough issues to work through together already. But, Ambassador, let's continue.
So yes, as I said, I am again concerned that this individual is a clear and present danger if they are not with you, and may represent a rogue element or another species that does not wish any part of this agreement to take place.
When we say that this individual is not a Starfleet, she is not a member of the organization that we are of. She is aboard our ship. She is someone that was brought down to help with the situation due to her unique nature. And as far as the reports I've seen, it was in self-defense. As you said yourself, your men are fine. She could have done a lot worse, and I'm glad she didn't.
So there's a very underlying sense of controlled rage or anger that you're sensing from him at this point. And Dami kind of, again, does that fist in palm and chin expression on the table. And in a very concerned voice, he says, "So that we're all clear on this, you're suggesting that we trust Starfleet to provide us this technology for free without asking anything in return, and won't use this as leverage over us to expand your empire or your borders."
We are explorers. I will not say that we don't have borders. We look after the people that join us, but they are in no way indentured or subservient, whatever that word is now.
Subservient, I gotcha.
Yeah. They are our allies, our friends. There are other entities out there that are not part of us. They have their own borders. And the only real thing we wish to do is, yes, we will share what we can and what we're allowed to. We can't elevate you to be right on with us just because that may cause issues. We have seen that in the past. But we also wish to share knowledge. That's really what we're about.
I must also correct you on one false assumption. We're not asking for nothing in return.
Oh?
No, we have an interest in the Opterans. We want to see their captured returned, and we want to see their independence grow as strong as your own.
I suppose when you put it that way, I can understand, but what is this but that you are about to say?
We are explorers, and we will respect Kavian boundaries and Kavian space. But any assistance that you could provide us in exploring the Shackleton Expanse, the area of spaces, as we call it, would be useful. We've been encountering spatial anomalies and spatial phenomena, eddies. We've collected a lot of data on them. We've watched them form. And I'm curious if you have any way of dealing with these navigational hazards.
So the man doesn't reply at first, but he does look to Captain Kaladak. And Kaladak clears her throat and says, "Well, I know not if you know of this species, but a green-skinned species in ships that are strange to us have recently been seen in Kavian space and in the neighboring space. And they have been seeding these strange devices which seem to increase the formation of these anomalies, as you've called them.
Do you have a data file on this species?
Not on me, but I could simply have the sensor logs that are contained on my own ship beamed over to your own.
Just going on a hunch, I'm going to pull up my pad and pull up like the cultural file on the Orions, and show that to the ambassador. Is it this race?
The ambassador looks at it and nods his head.
I see. We are aware of this race, although I am surprised to hear that they are responsible for many of these eddies. And also surprised to learn that they are this far into the Expanse. Have they been pirating your ships?
As far as I am aware, they have not been, but I'm curious, should we be expecting piracy from these green-skinned individuals?
Potentially. I will also say we should let them know about the pheromones.
Yeah, we would be happy to provide you with all of our cultural information on the Orions. With anyone, you can't judge them on their entire species. However, we'll also give you some information on the Orion Crime Syndicate, which is an organization of Orions that have that engage in a multitude of criminal activities along our own borders and presumably in the Expanse as well. We've had some experience with them in the Expanse, but not this far out.
I see. Of course, we would be willing to share whatever information we have in return for this data that you would be giving us.
I think that would be very agreeable. Commander, Counselor, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I'll say this, the Orion Syndicate, if they are pressing out this far, if they try to make contact, there is no independence with them. They'll offer it, but it'll be a ruse. They'll trick you, and with information they'll send you, you wouldn't even realize you're under their influence due to their genetic design.
So you are suggesting that we simply destroy their ships when they are sighted?
I suggest you don't be boarded by Orions.
I will take that as a yes.
And don't trust their females. If you see them, chase them away and relay the information to us if you can. We will try to intercept them and deal with them. If they know they're being targeted, they may get emboldened. They may get more sneaky.
I see. Well, the day is growing late, and I am growing tired. Were there any other matters you wish to discuss with the Kavians delegation?
Yes, and this would solely be a favor on your part, but we would very much be interested to know of any other major political organizations in this part of space. Allies, your enemies. Feel free to classify any necessary information, but we're explorers, and if we don't, third-party accounts are just as valuable as first-party accounts.
That is understandable. After all, the backbone of any good spacefaring empire is its information.
Well, I think this has been a productive day, and I will extend my hand, and the Federation looks forward to working with the Kavians more in the future.
Damizaz looks at the hand and kind of cocks his head to the side and says, I am not familiar with this gesture.
It's a cultural signifier. If you clasp hands, we will shake them, and it usually goes to the close of an agreement or the greeting of a new friend.
I see. And he takes your hand and gives it a very tentative but firm handshake.
Thank you. We'll leave the room to you.
As you wish. And yeah, at this point, I would say all of you present kind of filter out, and you are able to discuss pretty much whatever you want. I think at this point, Jeffrey's probably wandered off, kind of realizing there's nothing really else for him there. So you guys are in the clear to, talk amongst yourselves about whatever you wish at this point.
I got a full data pad of stuff I need to also get permission for, and also look at protocol for sharing at least diagrams and blueprints.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, we should talk about diplomatic things on the outpost. Wait until we get back to the Arcadia to do that. You never know who's listening.
Yep.
Fair enough.
It would be rude.
All right. So unless any of you have a burning desire to remain on the planet, we'll just go ahead and have you beam back up to the Arcadia. I'll put you on this map for now. Why not? So as I put you all on the right layer, as kind of a point of order, Nalan, now that you're here, you are called into Admiral Haru's temporary office.
Okay.
And when you step inside, you see the same Cation woman that you remember seeing back with when the Arcadia left Narendra Station. And the Admiral just kind of points a hand at the seat across the desk from her.
I'd take a seat.
So, I am curious, Counselor. Obviously, the oddity that was Psi Omega 2 had its effects on everyone, but I am curious as to the state of the crew after such a unnerving event.
Now, how much, out of character, how much would I know about the incident in terms of the wellness of the crew mentally and all that?
You would know more than anyone else on board, simply because you would have been directly responsible for any counseling or psychological evaluations of the crew that would have resulted from the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say you have almost your own judgment here to reply as you see fit.
Okay. So I guess would I have asked maybe Lieutenant Dore, since he might have helped with that as well?
Mm-hmm.
Would any of the crew be suffering from any psychoses or psychological disorders after the event, or no?
I would say that the greatest extent of that would be that some of the crew has grown a little bit distant when discussing such matters. Almost like a minor form of PTSD, where they choose to avoid talking about the subject rather than relive it.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, most of the crew seems fine.
Yeah, they seem all right.
Okay. For the most part, mentally, the crew seems fine. Some of them may have the onsets of what would be an equivalent to post-traumatic stress disorder, but other than that, everybody seems fine mentally.
I see. And it is of your professional opinion, Counselor, that every member of the Arcadia is fit for duty.
I believe some of them might need to be investigated further if we can, but for the most part, everybody seems fine, save for a few.
I see. And I trust that these few individuals are mentioned in your reports, yes?
Yes, they are.
Excellent. Then I only have one further question for you.
Yes.
Have you interacted much with this alien from the Andromeda Galaxy?
I've seen her aboard the ship, but I haven't had much time to interact with her, no.
I see. I was simply curious if you had any Betazoid-like insight as to her character.
Right. Would I have anything just in passing or not really?
As I've told Crowley, the general sense that you get from her is curiosity and a little bit of wanderlust.
Mm-hmm.
But since you are a telepath, I would say that a almost recurring type of thought that seems to occur with her is an overwhelming sense of what do I do now?
Mm-hmm. So it's basically like her emotions are like curiosity and wanderlust, but her deeper thoughts is like she's kind of confused about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or okay. She seems to be mainly curious of us and I guess Starfleet in that respect, but otherwise she just seems confused. She always seems to think about next.
Oh, you're cutting in and out.
But
Uh-oh. Milan, we're losing you. No.
oh, really?
Oh, no. Are you back? Maybe?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello?
Hi. If you could, repeat
don't know what
that last
happened there.
sentence.
No, my voice connection's just went a little wonky for a second. Should I reiterate what I said?
Oh, yeah. Reiterate what you said.
Okay. She seems curious both of us and the ship, but from what I've picked up, she doesn't seem to be a danger to us, but the one thought I continuously pick up from her is, what do I do next?
I see. So you don't detect any ill intent from this individual.
Not that I can tell, no.
I see. Well, that is all I have for you, Lieutenant Commander. You are dismissed.
Thank you, Admiral.
All right. And hey, is that Maddock I see?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, that's good. No worries. You're here, and that's what matters. Maddock, you haven't really missed much that would be of relevance to you as a character. But the one thing that I will say now that you're here is sometime while the rest of the senior staff is on the planet doing the diplomatic type stuff, the Admiral will call you into her office.
Oh, shit. This will be fun.
Oh. So I'm assuming you do go, like you don't avoid it or anything?
Okay, is it like you need to come to my office now? Or is it like I would like to see you in my office at some point?
The latter.
Okay, I try to do every single little thing I can think of to delay doing this.
Okay.
While I try to figure out, how not to get in trouble with the whole temporal crap that I was doing and still doing.
Right. I would say probably about the fifth time as you're realigning a conduit, Alon just kind of comes up to you and says, sir, I'm pretty sure that conduit is in serviceable order.
You never know. Last time we were here, we were sabotaged. I just want to be very thorough, Alon.
If I may be blunt, sir, you've checked it 5 times.
And I'm going to check it another 5 times.
Perhaps I could assign a crewman to this.
Well, how do we know that crewman was bought out by the Orions also? I haven't been bought out. Have you been bought out?
Alon just looks very confused for a Vulcan and says, that does not seem logical, sir. Is there something on your mind?
Just the Admiral wants to have a talk with me eventually. But, I'm sure that she's busy with one thing or another. The whole Kavian and Enthusians? Opterans. Who are the Enthusians then?
That was a couple species ago.
Okay. Opterans and Kavians, they're in a discussion right now. Maybe, hopefully, she's busy with that. But also, like, I do want to say that I've already told Alon and I've already told several crew member that I want everyone to pretty much double check any work that's done by anyone on the station, just because we have been sabotaged before.
Okay. Solon will take all of this in and eventually say, "Sir, if I may be prudent here, you seem to be exhibiting the classic human signs of avoidance."
Is that your professional opinion or your personal opinion?
A little bit of both. It is my understanding that humans sometimes use this defensive mechanism to avoid an unpleasant result or conversation.
You can definitely say that again.
He says it again.
I knew it. That's exactly what I said. Matic will kind of just like look at Alon with his tools in his hands and just be like, "Ah, shit." He just sets everything. He puts everything back away. I guess I can start making my way to the Admiral now.
Don't worry, sir. We'll check this conduit 5 more times while you're gone.
Just don't. I'll. Okay. It's okay, Alon.
All right. Alon kind of quirks an eyebrow as you maybe start to shuffle out of the room, maybe a bit reluctantly. And yeah, I'm assuming at this point you go to see the Admiral.
Yeah.
All right.
But
so,
I take a long way.
Okay. So eventually you arrive in what is typically not Admiral Crowley, Commander Crowley's office. And you see the Cation woman looking over reports, and as you step in, she says, "Lieutenant, please have a seat. We have a very important matter to discuss."
Yes, ma'am. And then I'll just kind of take a seat.
So, I believe the prudent thing to do here would be to say, we are, and by we I mean myself and Starfleet Intelligence, as well as the Daystrom Institute, are not displeased by your previous work on the Chronoton device. However, I do need to ask you, very plainly and clearly, if you are continuing work on such a device.
Maddox trying to keep as stone-faced as he can right now. He just looks at the Admiral and no, he wasn't. Captain told him to put everything away, and I've been working on it in secret.
Okay, so you communicate all this to her. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. And almost as if to punctuate you revealing this secret to her, she kind of swivels the tabletop station around so that you can personally see the encrypted data file that you had made before it was taken away. And she says, "Well, I appreciate your honesty in this matter. Again, we as a whole at Starfleet are not angry with you. In fact, there are those of us that believe such research is worthy of both resources and attention. However, there's a time and a place. And to that end, I am now going to officially order you on the record that you are never to touch this sort of data or experiment outside of the walls of the Daystrom Institute. Is that understood?"
Yes, Admiral.
Very good. Now on to a more lighter manner. I am curious, what is your status with the Chromium 50 deployment?
I haven't done the big probe yet, have I?
I would say in the week or so that it's been since last session, you would have been able to be. Let me double check. You would have.
If I may,
Yep, go ahead.
I was going to give Matic use of the captain's yacht to go because it's a day away by warp, right?
Right.
Yeah, I was going to let him use the captain's yacht to collect stuff.
Okay. So yeah, I would say that you have been able to get enough Chromium 50 in that event to either do the entire captain's yacht or a shuttlecraft.
Okay. I'm also gonna do a little bit of a retcon. Knowing that she wanted to talk, like, I kind of figured that this was gonna be the conversation that happened to my whole Chronothon device. I would have brought that data pad. I had all the information of it on, all the new information.
Okay.
And also, I would have brought the data from the Chromian and from Andromeda's suit, trying to use the nanites as medical technology.
Okay.
But
go ahead.
yeah, I hand her the Chronoton one, and I also hand her, and I tell her I do have a device. I do have another device in my quarters that I will turn over to Starfleet Intelligence.
Very good. Make sure that you do turn it over before the Arcadia leaves orbit. But again, I am curious. We'll get to this matter I see about the Andromeda alien here in a moment, but your experience with Chromium 50, do you believe that it would extend to larger starships like the Arcadia?
According to which as you can see on this data pad, everything I've received from the probes has been promising. The most I could do without coding a starship itself is probably doing a large scale holodeck test. However, we are all aware that those aren't 100% accurate.
That is correct. Go ahead.
Do I have enough chromium to do a shuttle?
Yeah, you do.
Okay. I currently have enough chromium to do a shuttle, and my thought was to code it and then attempt to fly it towards a smaller eddy, not one of the larger ones, just to see how it holds up. If that passes, then that's whenever I would probably suggest we try it on a, not necessarily one of the larger ships, but maybe if there's any test ships or any ships in the sector that are probably going to be decommissioned soon or anything like that.
Well, I actually believe that if this shuttle test is successful, I would like to see if coding the Arcadia in this Chromium 50 would suffice. To my knowledge, based on this data that you've just given me and the data that we've been able to come up with back on Narendra Station, we do not believe Chromium 50 to be a threat or otherwise detriment to a Starfleet vessel's operation. So you have my full clearance and perhaps urging that if this shuttle test is successful, to coat the Arcadia with such substance.
Understood, ma'am.
And then she looks at the data pad about Andromeda and she says, "So I'm skimming here. I just wish to make sure I understand what you're working on. You are trying to reapply the nanites that this alien individual possesses in a emergency medicine type scenario, yes?"
Yes, ma'am.
Well, unlike the Chronoton device, I would say that such research would obviously have to take place around the alien. So as long as you don't cause the entire ship to be assimilated, I will permit this research to continue.
As far as I've been able to tell, her nanites, unlike the Borg, do not work outside of her suit as of yet. So the possibility of being assimilated by her is very rare. But I also have reason to believe that her nanites may actually be able to fight back against Borg nanites.
Well, obviously, without a Borg to test this on, such a theory is, well, perhaps doomed to remain untested. But if you ever do get the nanites to function out of her body, I would appreciate that a sample be sent to the Daystrom Institute post-haste.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Well, Matic, I have nothing else further for you. Unless you have anything, you are dismissed.
I don't have anything currently, ma'am.
Very good. And she just kind of in almost like a Picard way, she just kind of picks up a pad and swivels just slightly away to indicate that the conversation is over and that you are free to go. But yeah. So one more scene that we'll do before we take our break is Richaud. As you return to the bridge, you are kind of taken aside by Ujesa, and kind of in one of the corners of the bridge, or maybe even out in the hallway, a more private space.
Sure.
Ujesa will very bluntly ask you, I understand that your knowledge and perhaps insight into the Romulan Star Empire is limited, but I am curious, Ensign, if you have any insight into the state of the Empire after the Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order fleet destruction.
I would have no way of knowing. I am not in contact with anybody in the Empire any more than you or anybody else in Starfleet would be.
I thought as much, but as both security officer and as a curious Klingon, I thought it prudent to ask.
I understand your curiosity, but no, I haven't had any connection with the Romulan Star Empire in over 20 years, so...
That is good. Well, sorry for pulling you away from your station. Let's return to the bridge. And yeah, let's take a 5-minute break here. This will probably be a good time for you guys to catch up Matic on what he's missed. Actually, let's make it a 7-minute break. So we'll resume at 5:10. So BRB myself.
All right.
Okay, I guess it's already gone. So I've been here since the Enthusian Kavian talk of you're gonna release my people. Oh no, I can't release your people because we depend on them for power.
I wouldn't say a ton happened before that, for Matic at least. Mostly that Admiral Haru came over and set up an outpost on the planet to do all these talks at. So now there's a Starfleet base on the planet.
Has she mentioned anything about the Enthusians? Like, have they been contacted again, or?
Yeah, we've got some diplomats on their planet, but it's not going super well. They do not really want to stop using their sentient computers, and because of that, they're not super keen to share their science with us. So it might not work out well between us, but that's kind of the direction it seems to be going.
Well, if I remember correctly, isn't bioengineering illegal in the Federation?
I'm back.
Yeah, but Well, no, not bioengineering, but like it is for people. Like we do it for like crops and things all the time.
What are we talking about?
But I was like, yeah, but like I thought that bioengineering, like weapons and ships and stuff like that, they were illegal in the Federation because of their possible damage output.
Oh no. So obviously biogenic weapons are outlawed, or at least very much restricted by the Federation. They don't actively produce anything of that nature, and usually when they find it, they try to tag it and or restrict, if not destroy, those types of weapons. Oh, go ahead.
The things that are used to make biogenic weapons are restricted substances. Like only Bashir could get some like medical thing because like that was its good use, but it was restricted because it could be used to make like biogenic weapons.
I think it's biomimetic gel that you're thinking of, but yeah, you are correct.
Yeah. That was it.
So yeah, but there's also, since Bashir was brought up, obviously engineering like a human or another species is not something that the Federation really wants to deal with again, because of the whole Khan and eugenics wars. So you'd have to go outside of the Federation to get such a procedure done. And obviously if you're found out, then there might be repercussions for you.
It does eventually become public knowledge that Bashir was enhanced, doesn't it?
I think it does, yes.
Because I think, like, O'Brien knows.
Yeah, it's public knowledge.
Yeah, but not yet.
No, it won't be yet.
Oh,
it's like, there's a couple seasons away.
Yeah, you guys are at least a couple years away from that ever happening.
Yeah, they hadn't completely, lost track of anything else to do with him up until that point yet, so.
Alright. Cool. I assume you've more or less caught Matic up to this point then, maybe?
Outposts on the planet, Kavians are assholes. Got it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we still have 3 minutes. So, Nalan, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Remind me, how far have you gone into the recordings, if any at all?
I've caught up from the past 3 weeks I was gone.
Okay, so you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah. Now that I have free time, now that the show's over, I have time to do that kind of stuff now.
I was going to say, so you, for the foreseeable future, will be able to get each of the sessions, yeah?
Yeah, save for, like, maybe me having to work 11 to 4 every now and then, but that's a rare thing.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I want to say this? I mean, if we're all here, we can resume again. So is everyone here?
I think we're still waiting on Rousseau and Crowley, I think.
Oh, I've been here the whole time.
Oh, never mind.
I'm here.
Okay, cool.
All right, well, if we're all here, let me take away the big... Oh, go ahead.
I just had a few questions about the whole Chromium thing.
Oh, yeah, sure, we can handle that. What do you got?
For the amount that I would need, have the deposits we've been finding been large enough to, I would say, probably coat a few of the ships in the area, not necessarily just the Arcadia?
The deposit that's the day away is enough to coat 2 Arcadias, so 2 Nova class.
Okay. Do we have any sort of record of what types of ships out here? Like what?
You do, actually. Let me scroll up. And while I'm doing that, Matic, if you could roll me your reputation. You have 1 positive and 1 negative. So you will be rolling 1d20 less than your reputation. And if you succeed, obviously your reputation will go up by 1, but because there is a negative influence, you will be, if you obviously don't pass this, you'll go down by 1.
All right.
And that'll give me time to find the information you're asking for.
And quick question too about the chromium.
Mm-hmm.
Chromium is not the mineral we thought it was. It's Terrarium that messes with the Vulcans.
Okay.
Yeah. Chromium is just shiny metal.
Yeah, I was gonna wait for someone to Trek check me, but I was gonna just roll with it for the time being.
So are we basically gonna have like a lowrider or something with all this chrome on it?
I mean, pretty much.
God
Now
help
on
any
every
ship
single
looking
session,
of.
every single session's intro song is the theme song to George Lopez.
I mean, guys, I am from Houston. Like that, we've got the whole scene here for this. I can hook us up.
Oh my god.
Just imagine the brightness the ship would get if it goes in like to a star system. We're flying past the sun. My retina's burnt, Captain. I'm gonna go to the door.
That's a feature. Oh dear.
So if it goes, so my reputation is a 14. If it goes below a 14, I gain a reputation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although,
I just couldn't remember how to put it in there. Nope. I lose a reputation.
You lose a reputation.
but I don't
And-
think that's in your responsibility, so you don't lose 2.
Yeah. He's fine. And just so you don't feel like this was a random punishment, as you might have guessed, the negative influence was you kept working on the chronoton.
Oh
device.
no! This is one of those things where it's like I knew it was going to be found out eventually, and I'm not about to lie to the Admiral.
Okay.
I remembered I need to roll reputation as well.
For you, I'll give you 1 positive influence.
Okay. So I'll need to. I'm trying to remember how reputation works because we haven't done it in a while. From what I remember.
So for you, you basically want to roll underneath your reputation, and it's just 1d20 for you.
Okay.
And if you succeed, you get a reputation, and if not, you actually don't lose any because you don't have a negative influence.
Okay. So I'm trying to remember, how do you make that roll in roll 20?
I'll
I'm
type
sorry.
it out. 1d20 minus rep. And wow, it didn't keep the less than sign. So you would do less than the number.
Okay.
Let me see if I can type that out again. R. Nah, it's not letting me keep the less than sign for whatever reason.
Okay. Would the 1d20 then less than whatever number, is that all in one command or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not actually sure what my reputation is at right now.
I think yours is still at the base of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, because you haven't been here long enough to get the multiple rolls that everyone else has. So yeah, I think this is probably your first actual roll.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Nope.
so you stay at 10. No bad, no
Okay.
good.
Cool.
All right. So unless anyone has any other lingering matters, let's dive right back in. So... Oh, I heard someone.
Just out of stupid curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
would we ever end up at the Daystrom Institute for any reason?
I mean, Voyager ended up back at past Earth when a 26th century time ship came through, so I suppose it is possible.
All right. I have to be within the walls of the Daystrom Institute to work on my device, right?
Yep.
All right.
I wonder if you're going to exploit the loophole that I literally just thought of, but I'm not going to tell you.
I have a loophole too.
What, holodeck the fucking Daystrom Institute?
I mean,
That does not count.
it might.
I mean, I was sitting here, as soon as you said the loophole, and I'm like, we have a holodeck. I could just...
I'll leave it up to you if you want to try and push your luck. But yeah.
Oh, Logan reputation, go.
I mean, this is the second time I've been found out working on this device. I feel like a third time means that I'm going to go have a really special talk with Starfleet Intelligence.
Oh, yeah. All right. Give me 1 second to get everybody on this page, and then we can push it on over. Q's
Push
no
it
longer
real
here.
good.
Yeah, unless you guys really want Q during your staff meeting again, I gotta move him off. I think that's
I
everything.
mean, he knows a lot of stuff.
Almost everything.
Almost.
Where is Nalan's token? There he is. He's on the wrong layer, of course.
He still doesn't know why kids go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to push you guys onto this map and to kind of describe how you all got here in the first place. So probably about a day after the whole meetings with everyone and the session down on the planet with the Opterans and the Kavians, Admiral Haru is going to call a senior staff meeting of her own. And unless any of you had like any lingering things you wanted to do during that time, we'll just sort of skip ahead to that staff meeting.
I was actually going to talk with our diplomats to see what we can approve for sharing with the Kavians.
That's actually something she's going to bring up during the meeting.
Okay. I actually wanted to do something similar, but all right, we'll bring that up during the meeting.
Yeah.
How long would it take for me to coat the shuttle in chromium?
I would say probably about half a week if you wanted to be extra thorough.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd say probably 3 to 4 days.
All right. I already have them started on it then.
Okay. Good to know. So yeah, as you all kind of filter into the briefing room, the conference room, and have a seat, Admiral Haru stands and kind of does so as both as a power move and to sort of go over to one of the consoles on the wall and begin to show information. So she says, I'd like to start off this meeting by telling you all that the Arcadia's performance thus far has been very exemplary. You've all acted in accordance with Starfleet regulations and you've upheld Federation principles. However, there are some concerns back at Narinja Station that maybe a bigger and perhaps better equipped vessel should be out here. The reasoning for that being that the powers that be feel that the quadrant is on the precipice of something big. The fact that, as the captain has communicated to me, Q has shown up and said as much himself seems to cement those concerns. However, before any of you begin to worry about being replaced, at the moment, I do not see a need to retask or replace the Arcadia at this current juncture. However, I will say that you might see ships such as the Bellerophon or the Venture heading out in this direction. So do not be alarmed if such vessels begin to appear on your sensors.
I think some friendly faces will always be a welcome sight, Admiral.
Very good. On to the next matter, the Kavian transfer of technology. Obviously, we are invested in helping free the Opterans. However, we must keep the Prime Directive in mind when sharing our technology with the Kavians. At the moment, I'm going to make the judgment call that we can more or less give them 22nd or 23rd century schematics for antimatter power core, but they will have to construct it of their own design. We are not to give them working technology, unless any of you have a very good argument to the contrary.
Actually, to add on to that, Admiral, while we were discussing things with the Kavians, is that how it's said?
Yes.
Okay. I picked up a thought from, good lord, Damazia?
Damizaz.
Damizaz, okay. I picked up a thought from Damizaz about when we offered new technology about them possibly using it to expand their borders.
That is troubling to hear. Tell me, the impression you got, Counselor, and perhaps this question could apply to you as well, Commander. Uh, your sense of the Kavians thus far, do you feel that with this technology they would become a militant force?
There's certainly the possibility there. There's also a feeling of greed coming off of him, but I believe the commander would have a better feel of that.
So Haru very pointedly looks at Crowley.
I got the feeling that they are tired of being dependent on another culture, despite them not knowing that the Opterans were sentient. I think that their pride may keep them in line. I think that in some ways they are a little bit like the Klingons. They do value what they have as a status. But I also imparted to them that there are other empires out there. We're not an empire, we're a federation. There's the Romulan Empire, the Klingon Empire, and they're lucky they met us.
That is probably a bit of good news and a bit of bad news. She thinks for a moment, and then when she's done deliberating, she continues on to say, in that case, I'm going to stand by my decision. Lieutenant Maddock, I'd like you to transfer over to the Kavians a very basic antimatter-matter reaction chamber schematic and provide whatever notes you feel are necessary for the construction of such.
By basic, are we talking like Zephyr Cochrane or First Enterprise?
First Enterprise would be probably the most apt in this circumstance.
Yes, ma'am. I'll get working on that as soon as we're done here.
Very good. On to our perhaps second and possibly most important matter of discussion. It is my understanding that the Kavians have encountered the Orions before, and she looks at the captain and at Crowley and pretty much everyone who was in that meeting.
That does appear to be the case. When I provided them with cultural files on the Orions, they identified them as the race that they had encountered. At this point, have we received any information back from the Kavians?
You have. I just don't have like what kind of empires are in
Sure.
the area.
Okay. And that appears to match up with what they've given us in return. It is possible, while the Kavians might be militaristic, if the Orions prove to be an enemy for them as well, we might find a sort of kinship in protecting each other from the Orion presence.
I see. Well, then it is a good thing that what I'm about to tell you will fit into what we've learned. And she taps the display screen, and on it begins to display a communique, a verbal communique from a unknown individual. And the gist of this, because I'm not going to read you the full handout, the gist of this communique is that someone from the highest level of the syndicate sent out this communique 2 weeks ago, and in this message, they insinuate that they have further operatives planted in crucial positions on Narendra Station. The purpose of those agents being to destabilize the relationship between the Klingons and the Federation. And probably the biggest ticket item in this message is that there is an open bounty on the Arcadia. The first syndicate member to bring back the burning husk of the Arcadia's hull will be rewarded beyond their wildest dreams.
Well, that's not good.
Seeing as Matt is kind of close to the Admiral, anyone kind of looking that way would notice that he clenches his fist and gets a small little smile on his face. He's has that demeanor that he's ready to fight some Orions. been a while. He's got some anger built up. He'll take care of some of them.
I slowly turn and look at Maddox.
Yeah,
I can feel that.
Yeah, the Betazoids in the room would definitely be able to feel that.
As long as we're in a Borg cube, though.
So, after the message is finished playing, Admiral Haru just kind of looks around as if inviting comments and concerns.
Is the Klingon Empire aware of this communique, or is this something that's been strictly relayed to us?
We have related to Klingon intelligence, though I'm sure Ujesa here would be the only one knowledgeable at the current moment whether or not they've done anything with that information. And Ujesa just kind of shrugs and says, "I am not familiar with this information. It's the first I've heard of it." And Haru just kind of says, "Well, I guess that answers that question."
What are the chances that Orions have operatives in Klingon intelligence?
Ujesa almost spits at that, and she says, "We would not allow such dishonorable members of the syndicate to influence us."
I just raise a hand. Duras. Oh.
She looks at you with like the worst stink eye a Klingon could give someone, but says nothing.
I'll just casually no profanity in the conference room.
It's
referring to the word Duras.
It is a possibility. As slim as it could be, it is a possibility. Admiral, have we identified any operatives on the station?
We are doing a deep dive at the moment to try and root these individuals out, but due to the sheer size of the station, it will be at least a month before we are able to truly be able to ferret out anyone.
Dr. Dore.
Yes, Captain.
Were you able to make any headway with some of the discussions we had at countermeasures against Orion pheromones?
Actually, I was waiting for a good opportunity to bring this up. As far as that bit of... Well, let me take it back a bit for the sake of the Admiral. Admiral, I was asked to develop a sort of countermeasure against the Orion female pheromones, and I've made some good progress on that. I've developed a serum that would be able to resist the pheromones for approximately a 4-hour exposure period, but as far as straight up curing it or otherwise removing the effects from someone's system, I've yet to really come up with anything for lack of test subjects. My best guess is that sobriety, to coin the phrase from the pheromones, would be still the best option for weaning them off of it. And Haru just kind of nods but doesn't really say anything to this.
What about the possibility of faking the signs of exposure to the pheromones?
And Dore just kind of looks at you and says, "How do you mean, sir?"
Well, put simply, to expose someone intentionally to Orion pheromones, but as a way to, so that when scanned medically, that they would appear to be under the effects, but not actually be so.
Well, obviously, there are many chemicals that could replicate the effects, and I'm sure that they are employed by Starfleet intelligence agents that are embedded within the Orion crime syndicate. However, again, without any useful test subjects, my own foray into the subject is limited.
The Orion woman we captured back during our whole temporal event with the Hypatia? I'm assuming the Admiral knows about
Oh
this,
yeah,
so it
she
isn't like
knows.
okay.
She knows.
Yeah, so during our whole temporal event with the Hypatia, well, I remember we captured that Orion woman. Is she still on Narinda?
She has been since transferred to a more secure facility, but to answer your question, no, she's no longer on Narendra.
How difficult would it be to extract some pheromones from her or extract something from her? That way the doctor could use it.
Well, I mean, to put it bluntly, Lieutenant, the Arcadia that we're all currently standing on, or rather sitting, you are quite far out. So someone would have to take a 2 to 3 week journey out this far just to get you such things.
Okay. But also, like for instance, we also captured Duskmaul, who was a operative. Is there a way that he was contacted on a certain channel or frequency or something that we've been able to learn about?
Not as
That
of
we
yet,
could.
but it is a good thought.
Uh,
Um, and then what about anything from the woman's ship?
We are, to this day, still combing through. They had a rather concerning amount of encryption on their computer files. It is far beyond the Syndicate to possess such encryption.
Is it encryption that hasn't been seen before, or is it just they heavily encrypted their own stuff?
I'm afraid that information is classified.
Admiral, is there Starfleet going to be taking any countermeasures to increase the security of our ships in the Shackleton Expanse, in addition to deploying Intrepid-class vessels like the Venture and the Bellerophon?
Well, hold up, I gotta find this in my notes. There it is. As part of a measure to ensure that no one aboard any of the Starfleet vessels in the Expanse, we are going to institute a ship-wide or almost fleet-wide physical requirement from every individual alien, Starfleet, no matter what they are. They are to get a physical, a full physical from the chief medical officer of each vessel. And it is our hope that this blanket physical across every single ship and every single crew, that we will be able to discover any pheromone-addled brains or anything of that nature.
Obviously, then the weak point would be the doctors themselves.
That would be correct. However, and she looks very pointedly at Dory, and Dory just smiles back in that Denobulan way, I am fairly confident that our chief medical officers are not affected. Or at least this one, anyway.
Aren't Denobians immune?
I think Vulcans are immune.
Okay.
The Nobulans get sleepy, Vulcans get irritable.
Well, my point being that there should be a few redundancies for every ship.
Understandable. Which actually brings us to perhaps the final matter. I understand that this. Perhaps I should actually use her title. Andromeda, I understand that she is a. Well, to put it bluntly, a crack shot when it comes to medical matters. Is that correct? Dory just kind of nods. And Haru goes on to say, I see. So, the situation is thus. I fully admit that Andromeda is a sentient being and has her own rights and such that are offered to her by the Federation, even though she is not a formal citizen. If it were up to me and she were not sentient, I might send her back to the Daystrom Institute for further study. But again, due to what I've just said, I'm content to leave her here. However, we are in a bit of an impasse about how to deal with her. And the way I see it, we have two options. The first is we, as the Federation, can grant her official ambassadorial status, or we can simply wait and see if she requests a formal asylum with us. Either would be suitable for her to remain aboard the Arcadia.
Actually, Captain, I believe she already requested an asylum.
Everyone looks at the captain.
I've got a puzzled look on my face. And I guess Neelan will read from my brain, asylum from whom? But I will parrot back, and this is kind of a half-truth. She has requested to stay aboard the Arcadia, although we have not discussed with her the possibility of traveling to the Daystrom Institute. I didn't feel it prudent to mention it to her.
Well, as I said, the choice is hers to make, but the easiest way to handle the situation is, as I have said, either ambassadorial status or asylum. Otherwise, and this is strictly off the record, you might begin to experience pressure from other admirals to have her brought into the Daystrom Institute.
We'll count her as a refugee.
It's not a bad idea. It's honestly not a bad idea. Very well. That is all I had in terms of a meeting. Are there any lingering concerns, comments, questions, etc. that you might have for me, or of Starfleet intelligence, or anything of that nature?
Do we have reason to believe the Orions have already made allies out here?
Well, given what we now know, I would say that it would probably be a safe bet to say they might have at least one ally out this far, yes.
Do we have any information on said ally?
If you do, it's contained in the Kavian data package, which I'm still working on. But it would be something you'd discover after like a few days of combing through the data, kind of a thing. So you wouldn't have that information quite yet.
Admiral, I would like to discuss the idea of some increased security measures in the Expanse. We know that the Orions have been... or the Kavians have suggested that the Orions are responsible for the anomalies that we have encountered, and that they're causing them with some device. If true, I believe it would be imperative to find out what this is, and to that end, we will be fast-tracking protecting the ship from these eddies. But I'd also like to request that we increase our communication abilities throughout the Expanse, and so that we can receive aid from each other, from friendly ships more quickly.
Well, that is partially the reason why we are constructing an outpost on what I suppose is now known as Zoatis Prime. However, this listening post, as it were, out this far, will be likely the farthest out relay until we are able to effect the chromium change to all ships, of course assuming that it works on a starship level.
Okay, well, I guess the Arcadia ought to be loaded for bear should the Orions arrive. While we're outfitting the ship, we will be running some combat simulations to get ready. If any of my staff have any suggestions to that end, I'd like to hear them.
Ujesa very pointedly kind of puffs out her chest and says, I have several battle ideas that would suffice in making sure that the crew of the Arcadia is up to the challenge.
I've been involved in a few ambushes. I could set up some stuff also, sir.
Excellent. I like to see initiative from my officers. Next time we meet, let's review these plans.
Very good. And once again, the Admiral just kind of looks around to see if anyone brings up anything else while she's here.
Admiral,
Curious.
Let's do Matic first.
do you want the Arcadia to return to Narinda or even to this outpost whenever we begin the chromium coverage or refit? Or should we just do it where we are in space? Just in case it doesn't work, I don't want to be, stuck in the middle of nowhere, months away from somebody.
Well, based on the data you've given me and my understanding of the interaction between the chromium and the starship, I believe you would be safe to conduct such painting, as it were, of the hull out here in space. So to answer your question, and again, this is not an order, you may certainly either do it in place, or if you wish to spend the month-and-a-half round trip to have it done at Narinja Station, that can happen too.
It was actually my idea to land planet side where the chromium is and do this in atmosphere.
That would
Perhaps
go ahead.
it would be a good chance to give the crew a stretch of their legs.
That is a. Oh, go ahead.
What class is the? This is, I guess, this is more out of character.
Mhm.
Is the planet where all the chromium is
Yes.
it an M class?
It is.
Is it like what's its? Is it like a mountainous world, tropical world?
I would say it is a mixture of. Well, if I had to pick a continent on real world Earth, I would say that all of Africa. So you've got some deserts, you've got some forested areas, so it covers a wide variety of things, but there's not like any. How do I say this? You're not going to find Siberia on this planet, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
One last thing. I just wanted to see what emotion am I getting from Haru from this whole entire meeting.
Calm collectedness. You get the sense that either she's very much aware there's two betazoids in the room, or she is just that composed.
Alright.
All right. Well,
When the meeting's over, I do want to stick behind and ask Haru a couple questions.
okay. So unless anyone has anything else, going once, going twice. All right. Meeting comes to a close, and you guys, those of you that are not staying behind, begin to shuffle on out. So is it just the captain that's going to hang back, or are other people going to hang back as well?
I'd leave last, well before
Yeah.
the captain.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to do this one-on-one.
Okay.
But if anyone has anything to do with the Admiral before me, they certainly may.
Whenever the meeting's over, I just want to kind of wait, go to a Jetson and be like, "Hey, let's go talk about this stuff." And then,
She will very excitedly, quote unquote, take you under her wing down to 7 aft to discuss matters further.
yay, alcohol. Shipwide drinking contest.
Hey, you got it. you win.
Oh dear. All right, so I'm getting the sense that it's pretty much just going to be Tahan and the Admiral. So Admiral just kind of looks very questioningly at Tahan, and almost waiting for him to speak.
So I wasn't expecting during this employment to become a subject of Q's fascination, but I'm curious, Admiral, what is Starfleet's take on Q?
Besides the fact that he's an incorrigible trickster,
Besides that fact.
well, depending on who you ask. Either you'll get the sense that the fact he exposed us to the Borg gave us time to prepare for the tragedy that was Wharf 359. Had we not had that contact, things might have gone much, much worse. But then you have individuals who think that such frivolities that Q has undergone with the crew of the Enterprise, that it's hard to say if he's more of a menace or sort of a, I shudder to say this, a force of good, if that makes any sense.
No, through his actions and his statements, he definitely appears to have a deep interest in the Federation's development and well-being. He certainly has a peculiar way of going about that, and many would probably blame him for Wolf 359. And I'm not going to say that those people are wrong, but I guess I wanted to know if there's anything you knew that I didn't about Q.
Honestly, what little we know is either classified or you would have picked up during a 5-minute conversation with the entity.
Fair enough. Well, Admiral, that's all I had. Thank you for everything, and I wish you the best of luck securing Nurinder Station.
Thank you. If you are in the area for the next week, I will be remaining down on the planet until the Bellerophon can make it out this far to pick me up and return me to the station.
Aye, sir. And I'll go to shake her hand before leaving.
She gives you a very cordial, like hand-over-hand kind of shake. And unless you want to escort her to Transporter Room 1, that's where she's heading.
Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll make sure it's like I'll keep a watch out on Rouge for you.
Very good, very good. All right, so we've actually come to the part of the session where I ask if there's anything that anyone wants to do. So we're going to start at the bottom, which I believe is Nalan. You've got free run of the ship. Is there anything you'd like to accomplish?
From the meeting earlier when Crowley said that Andromeda had, wanted asylum, was I picking up anything that might have indicated that he was lying about it, or no?
Crowley, I'm going to let you make that call.
From the one-on-one we had, I believe that was actually what happened. She talked to him about that, so no, he's telling the truth.
Huh. Okay. I guess... I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
That's okay.
From watching the episodes, I don't remember if Andromeda had asked for asylum or not, but then again, I'm not sure where I was during all those events with Nalan, so...
You were probably still dealing with Psi Omega 2 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Maddie's come to your office several times for that. He's...
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Other than that, I don't really have anything, no.
Okay. I always like to open it up just in case. Next, let's do the captain in case the captain has to bounce a little bit early. So, Tahan, anything you'd like to accomplish?
Nope, I do not have anything else.
Okay, then we're going to bounce to Crowley. Crowley, do you have anything?
My crew evaluations. Who's a troublemaker?
So,
Matic.
Well, besides Matic. Ensign Reeve is on report at least 6 more times by the time you've come aboard shift. So, as kind of a refresher since it's been a while, Ensign Reeve is the Bajoran who is like Barclay if Barclay was actually competent, and, well, that's mean to Barclay. If he was similar in Barclay to the fact that he shows up to duty shifts either late or not at all, or he half-asses his work, kind of a thing.
Alright.
Also, I remember this. He had something with his brain. Or he had something going on with his head, and the doctor and myself attempted to fix it. I thought we did, but I guess it hasn't been because he's one of my guys, isn't he?
He is one of your guys, yes.
Okay.
I'm looking at my own notes on this. Yes, there was a procedure. So that problem that was found was fixed, but apparently it wasn't why Reeve was acting the way he did. Like, it may have been a contributing factor, but it wasn't the end-all kind of fix.
Because used to it was like every day he was on report, but now it's only been 6 times in the past 3 or 4 weeks.
Probably more like 1 or 2 months, but yeah.
Oh,
Oh no, it's probably more than that. I'd have to go play with Stardates to figure it out. But yeah, it's been quite a while.
Comparatively, though, he has more reports than anyone else I've been looking at.
Correct.
Alright. I'm going to call him to my office since I have it back now.
Okay. I actually don't know if I have a token for him. No, I do not have a token for him. So I'll put us on this map, but obviously you'll just have to imagine his token is there. So yeah, you call Ensign Reeve into your office, and you find that almost immediately you see that there is several violations of the uniform code on him. He's got the Bajoran stereotypical earring that they've got going on. I forget what the name of it is. And he also is in a what would be a captain's jacket, if I had to qualify, like Picard's style uniform. So it's a very casual look, but obviously for an ensign that's like not allowed. And his boots are scuffed, because why not?
Belt's half done too. So what else is there?
That's probably about it.
Crowley, would you have called Matic into the meeting as well because I'm his superior?
At the moment, no. I want to do a
Okay.
little one-on-one just to get to know him.
Okay.
I just look at him like, please, have a seat.
All right. He does the Riker like leg over the back and sits down that way.
Are you enjoying your time aboard the vessel?
It's all right.
And do you think it could be better for you?
I mean, it's kind of hard to really do anything around here without half the ship knowing. So, I mean, I don't know. Kind of would like maybe some more privacy.
Your duties, please detail them for me. What do you do in an average day?
I perform maintenance, as Lieutenant Maddock puts forth. I sometimes deliver reports about the state of our probes. And then every once in a while, I might run to the shuttle bay to help out with the situation there.
Do you feel like you're being challenged enough for these tasks?
Shrugs and says, challenged enough, I guess.
So you're feeling that your work is adequate? What you've been given your responsibilities is adequate?
He kind of nods his head, and you get the sense, like, not quite smugness, but he's very sure in what he's saying. And yeah, Maddock, you're not wrong, but this is what he is saying.
Okay. So
I've
he
been,
isn't like, let me go fix this conduit. He's more like, I need to realign the lithium, but he's just, oh, it's whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. That should be the general feel you should be getting from him at this point.
Would you say that you're just doing the day-to-day grind? You just go on autopilot and get it done?
It's about right, yeah.
What would be a challenge for you?
I don't know. Maybe take me on a way mission every once in a while. I mean, I think it's kind of unfair that the big shots on the ship get to see the real interesting stuff.
And you think you're qualified for a way mission?
Yeah, more or less.
What gives you that thought?
He opens his mouth as if to kind of come back with a witty retort, but then he seems to think better of it because he kind of switches track and he says, I don't know, just, any ensign in Starfleet would be eager and willing to go on such missions.
Are you wanting to go on these missions for fame and glory? Is that what you're hoping for? You get into a fight? All these missions are about that.
He doesn't say anything, but you do get a very small sense of guilt.
I haven't had a chance to talk with you before, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm an empath.
Oh, well, that's just
Yeah.
great.
Yes. I just give him a smile. Despite my pointed ears, no, I can actually feel what you're feeling. Looking at your report here, it looks like someone who wants to check out. You look like you either want off the ship or you want off Starfleet. Which is it?
Well, I mean, we're far away from any station I could transfer to, so I think I'm pretty much stuck here.
Oh no, there's an outpost I can put you on.
I
It's right
wasn't
down
even
the
aware.
planet. It's right down the planet, being built right now. And then they'll probably take you back to the station, get assigned somewhere else. But they'll probably be assigning you to something my recommendation. And at the moment, you don't have any decent or good recommendations. Everything I see here, you're late, you aren't following dress code. I don't have an issue with you having your cultural earring on. It's the uniform. There's no respect for it. The uniform doesn't represent just the organization you're in. It's a representation of yourself. Do you have pride in yourself? Because right now I see no pride in yourself. I see someone who wakes up, half-assed, gets dressed, goes, does his job, the bare minimum.
He again doesn't say anything, but you can, even without your Betazoid sense, you can sense that this is starting to get a bit uncomfortable for him, which is probably what you're going for with this.
Oh, yeah. So you want to go on away missions?
Nods his head.
You think you're going to be what? The Kirk? No, there's something that you would probably be. And as unfortunate as it is to say it, you'd probably be a red shirt. You know what that old saying is, right? You know what that means?
Yes, sir, I am aware of what that means.
Good. I don't want that to happen to you. I like to see people have potential. I like to see people fulfill that potential. I think underneath all of this, you could have that. You could have the potential to be better. Everyone has that. So, if you want to go on away missions, you're going to have to prove it to me. You're going to be taking my combat courses. You're also going to be going through some other training courses as well. But I want to see you, first thing, your next shift, following uniform protocol to the letter. No scuffs, proper uniform.
He nods his head, and at this point there's just an overwhelming sense of he wants to be out of here. Like, he is very much squirming in his seat, kind of a thing.
I'll be talking to your superior about this meeting, and if he feels we need to have another one, we'll have another one. And if I feel that there's no progress being made, then yes, I'll gladly recommend you go to a transfer scow or barge. Clear?
Aye, sir.
Dismissed.
And he leaves. Probably a little bit more hurriedly than he lets on, but, you know. Alright. With that out of the way, what else would Crowley like to accomplish?
Oh, I let Maddock know what I just did.
Okay. So, Maddock, you get the general gist of what just happened.
I sent back a thumbs up emoji.
It showed it's a picture of the ensign with a fire under his butt and there's a thumbs up emoji. I'd also probably visit Andromeda.
Okay. She happens to be in the same science lab you left her in a few days ago.
Do you sleep here? I'm pretty sure we have quarters for you.
Oh, how long has it been?
A few days.
That long? She kind of tilts her head to the side and says, "Ah, well, that would explain why my chronometer isn't working. I'll have to do some maintenance on my suit."
I would like to formally invite you to have dinner, just to get to know and feel all relaxed. You've been on the ship, and I haven't seen you really eaten with anyone.
Well,
So.
as I think I've said a few times, I do not require sustenance in a manner in which you do, but I would be happy to attend this dinner, if only to understand the cultural significance of it.
It's a way to relax, you know. You've been in here for days, so.
All right, she's cool with it.
I will see you in my quarters. I will provide a variety of dishes.
She'll just kind of nod her head, and aforementioned dinner will probably actually take place out of session if we need to go into it, but I'm content with saying it's a very nice dinner. You get to know her a little bit better, and stuff of that nature.
That's yeah. It's more like it's not a super professional, but it's a relaxed but professional. Like he's still trying to just make her feel at ease.
Okay, just making sure. All right, let's go to Rasho, because it's been a while, and I always feel like on the diplomatic missions, Rasho gets the short end of the stick here. So, Rasho, is there anything you're up to or want to get accomplished?
Yeah, actually, if possible, Rasho would like to get a moment alone of the captain's time.
Okay, I'm sure that can happen, yeah.
Computer, play soft jazz. No.
That's not why I wanted to see you, Captain.
Goddamn, Risho, that's one hell of a harem you're building.
Alright. I couldn't resist. Okay. Yes, Dinson.
I've been mulling this over for the past couple of days, Captain, and I haven't been really entirely sure how to approach it. Not to be too dramatic, but I received a rather enigmatic message a couple days ago, and I thought it best to bring it to your attention.
Please show. What is it?
I got a personal communique, which was unsigned and encrypted, so I haven't been able to trace its origin. And the only thing it said was, "Watch your back out there." I don't know what that means, but I thought it best to bring it to your attention, sir.
Do you have any idea of who would be telling you to watch your back?
Rochelle will pause and kind of mull it over for a moment. The only person I can think of is Admiral Vance. I can't imagine anybody else would contact me, although I'd be surprised if Vance would too. It's I don't know.
Why wouldn't Admiral Vance use official means of communication?
Well, Admiral Vance kind of doesn't always go through the official channels, which is the entire problem.
Can't say I'm too familiar with his career, but...
Okay, so out of character, I imagine the captain...
I'm looking him up right now. Yeah.
Well, it's a character that I made up for Risho's back.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, no, Vance is the admiral who took an interest in Risho at the Academy as a possible Romulan infiltrator, unsupported by Starfleet. So when Risho found out that it wasn't an official program, he kind of exposed Vance, and there was a whole thing, and Vance was demoted to a rear admiral and moved away from, like, as far away from the Romulan Star Empire as possible. So,
okay. I actually might know about that since we'll talk later. But okay, so he's no longer an admiral. Is that what you're saying?
Well, he's a
rear admiral. So
he's rear admiral now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you like, I do dabble in subspace communication. I could try to figure it out, but
Yeah, if you wanted to take a look, maybe you could approach it in a different way than I did. But yeah, I just like I don't know. I don't know if it's Vance. I don't know who else it might be. I just thought it would be best to bring it to your attention, sir.
No, I appreciate that. Just looking at it right now on my pad, what can I find out?
Pretty much everything Rocio's told you. It's pretty well encrypted, and everything that you're seeing would be to indicate that this person went to great lengths to hide the originating point of the message.
I'd like to make some kind of check. My theory is based on what Rocio's told me that if this is Vance, then I'm wondering if the ways that this was encrypted would require significant resources that possibly only an admiral would have access to.
I'm gonna give this one to free because there's no way in hell you're gonna pass a difficulty 5, but you would at least be able to pick up something.
Okay.
You're going to know that conceivably this level of encryption would either have to come from another big player in the alpha/beta quadrant, or it would be someone with access to Admiralty level encryption or Starfleet intelligence level encryption.
Okay, so if it's Federation, it's an admiral, but possibly a foreign government.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. Well, either way, Rocio, it appears that you have a guardian angel, as it were.
Well, I mean, hopefully that's all it is. But I don't even know what I'm supposed to be watching out for, so not sure how useful the message actually is.
Q had a similar message for me, but he delivered it in person.
Well, I'm gonna guess I'm probably beneath Q's notice, so...
Oh, you are, but I don't even... Oh, wait, sorry. Clicks his fingers, Q pops up, and he says, oh, sorry, you talked about me, and I just had to be here.
Rude.
Oh, don't even say it, Captain. I can understand. And he clicks his fingers again, and he disappears.
That is unsettling.
Do you think he makes guest appearances when kids are learning their alphabet as well?
Oh dear, sorry. I had to interject that little bit with Q. Sorry.
I just looked to whatever direction the captain's ready room is. I was like, he's feeling frustrated about something. Okay.
Now, I should ask you, Jessa, what the Klingons call Q. What letter does he correspond with in their alphabet?
Probably the Klingon equivalent of Q, but interestingly, this has come up that in my readings that the Klingons kind of fear Q, and this is something that even Shield of Tomorrow seems to support, that the Klingons' response to Q is to either run and hide or play kind of subservient nature, which is really rare for Klingons.
Well, I mean, it's Q and the Tribbles, right? That's what they're afraid of?
Well, yeah.
See, I don't want to get on a whole sidetrack, but I'm just curious how the Klingons would react to Q's whole trial starting at Encounter at Farpoint Station.
Oh, God. Probably not well.
No.
All right, so was there anything else that Rocio wanted to get done?
Not really. He's just going to do his regular duty things and, practice whatever stringed instrument he's taken up this week, and yeah.
Okay. So Matic, you've got 6 or 7 minutes before I have to wrap up. So is there anything you wanted to get done?
I wanted to get as much information on Orion spottings from other ships in the Expanse, in the Shackleton Expanse, to try to figure out, where they're most commonly seen, or where they're doing most of their stuff. And at the same time, I'm working with Ujessa on creating more Orion-based tactic and fight combat tactics. I guess because on my previous ship, because I ran into several of their ambushes, I would be just basically recreating those missions.
So that they don't happen again. I gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
I've got one idea.
Okay.
Dore mentioned he had like an inoculant that would kind of render you protected for about 4 hours.
That is correct.
Could that be administered to the ship's environmental control systems if we were boarded?
I would say, yeah, it would be something you could introduce to the air supply.
Yeah, that's definitely something I want to practice and get into our systems during our combat drills.
So kind of a quote-unquote code green.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm also going to send a message to Crowley, asking him permission to allow me to carry my my combat knife on me, but it's hidden, like it'll be hidden on my person at all times, just in case.
Well, Crowley, that's up to you.
I
will say that for point of reference, Ujesa, well, she doesn't carry around her bat'leth, but she does carry around her decaying dagger.
I just look at it like, well, Jessa has her dagger. I don't see an issue you having as long as it's only used in self-defense in the event that Orion's bored us. Nothing else to that effect, then keep it stowed.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else?
How much time will pass between now and the next session? Do you know?
Probably actually only like a day. So,
okay.
It'll actually be very close.
Okay, because I didn't know if I needed to go ahead and roll for the shuttle stuff now.
Nah, we'll do that next session. Because I think next session will be dealing with the Chromium 50 along with a surprise of a different nature. But yeah, if there's nothing else, I'm going to end the stream so we can chat for very briefly before the captain has to run. So, stream, if you're watching, thanks for being here, and bye-bye.